Hey everybody out there, this is Seto, and today for you guys we're going to be doing a really awesome deck profile I know a lot of you guys have been waiting for, and that is a deck profile of my Buster Blader deck. Yes, Buster Blader is a really awesome card that, you know, from the original Yu-Gi-Oh series. It fought Slifer, the freaking Sky Dragon, the executive producer of Yu-Gi-Oh! And it's just such a cool card to play around with and play with. I actually have been playing a Buster Blader deck for a long time. It's changed a lot over the course of the years. Initially, when the support came out, we were running things like DNA surgery and things of that nature to change your type combo of your opponent's cards to dragon, and then eventually we started we got the Link Monster a couple years ago, about a year ago, I guess, a year and a half ago. That changed things up, and then we got Red Eyes Dragoon. Now, I know what a lot of you guys are going to say. Seto, this is a very expensive deck. A very expensive deck. What options do I have besides running some of these expensive cards? Well, guys, we'll talk about that at the end of the video when we get to it, but I feel like there's a bunch of different ways you can play your Buster Blader deck. If you're trying to build a Buster Blader deck right now, last time I checked, it's kind of expensive. I luckily had all these cards years ago when the set initially dropped, back when they were dirt cheap. But without further ado, let's get to the deck profile. Like I said, at the end, we'll talk about different options you can run and different variations of Buster Blader you can run at the end of the video. So first off, we run our 3 Buster Blader. Yes, I have a couple PSV ones in here and a dark, I forget which one this one is for, the super rare one. But I love the OG artwork of Buster Blader, especially from PSV, especially if it's an original one, because I don't know what it is about that artwork, guys. It looks super dark, and the way he looks like a Monster Slayer card just looks so awesome because of that reason, because of the older, darker ink. I don't know why, but that's initially what drew me to this card as a kid. But 3 of the OG Buster Blader, as you guys know, can take down all these freaking dragons, takes down Blue Eyes White Dragon decks. I can't tell you how many times people are like, your dragon deck sucks, Seto, because I can take you out with Buster Blader. And I'm like, come at me, bro. I'm Blue Eyes freaking White Dragon. But besides that, I feel it's ironic I'm doing this deck profile in general. But 3 Buster Blader, back on topic, that we run in the deck. Awesome card, gains a bunch of attack if you have dragons. You're running against dragon stuff. Your Synchro can turn things into dragons. You can use him for your fusion plays, which is awesome. Overall, a staple 3 of in the namesake of the deck. Next, we run one of the retrains of Buster Blader. Different people run different ratios. I'll be honest, even in 2021, I see different people run different ratios. Some people run the alternative version. Some people do not. Some people run 2 of the OGs and 1 alternative version. It's up to you personally to decide which ratio you want to run. Me, I like the OG one, and I like the 1 retrain. It's very useful for helping go for the fusion plays, etc., and makes it more easier to get the Buster Blader out on the field too in certain situations. Next, we run 3 Buster Whelp, which is kind of like your Stratos card for the deck, and your pretty much does everything card for the deck. The reason for that is because he helps search out your Buster Blader-esque cards, but the fact also he's a tuner. This deck is a very interesting deck in the fact that it can go for fusions and synchros, which is 2 of my most favorite mechanics, I guess you could say. I do love Exceeds and Links as well, but I really like the OG fusions and synchros, and I love the fact that it blends those 2 together. He's very useful for that fact that he can help you do multiple different plays and different combo things in this deck, because he is pretty much your searcher for your deck and is a tuner for your deck for some of your different synchro plays you can go for. So I feel like he's very integral into the deck overall. Definitely a staple 3 of. Double of your Buster Dragon Destruction Sword. A lot of you guys are going out there saying, thank gosh this card came back. I mean, I'm going to be honest, I knew this card was broken for years. Do you guys all remember that Felgrand Structure deck that came out years ago? Thank you to my buddy Will, I'm going to give him a shout out, who actually suggested this card in my Felgrand deck years before it became meta because of Union Carrier. We literally looked at this card when it came out of the set and we were like, that card's broken. And that card is going to be broken one day. And it got banned. Then it came back. But alas, the card's definitely a staple 2 of in the deck. Some people like running 3 of. before we got all the new support, before we built this version of the deck, I would have said yes, 3 of every day, twice on Sunday, especially when Union Carrier is around. Now I would say 2 of. It's easily searchable through multiple different means, be it Where Art Thou, be it through just any searching card you really can do in the deck. I find that it's a staple 2 of. It's really awesome because you get this out with your fusion, you lock your opponent out of the extra deck. Like, you guys know how this card works. And it's definitely a staple in this deck, but different people run different amounts. I find out right now it's a staple 2 of. It's also a tuner, which is great because it can help you go for different synchro plays in the deck, which gives the deck versatility. So staple 2 of in the deck. You could play around with 3 of, though, if you wish. I also won 1 Wizard Buster Dragon to Sword. This is a optional tech option. Some people like it, some people do not. It depends upon the format. I see some people, depending upon how they're taking this deck, run this card. I feel like it's an unsung card of the deck. The reason people don't run it a lot is because it's not a tuner. It's not destruction, but sword, which was meta and was used for multiple different things. This card is very useful for the fact that it can stop graveyard effects and things. I like this card as just a 1 of, but that's up to you to decide if you want to run it or not. Next up, we run 3 Tenny Spirit Ashuda. This card helps you go for link plays and is very useful for a lot of different things overall. I like this card, and I feel like it's a staple 3 of in the deck. Hands down, for helping you go for different plays. It's so easy to get this card out onto the field, and it can help you link climb, get you into certain plays. It's a staple card, I feel like. It's a tuner, which is a level 1 tuner, which this deck has a lot of, which means it helps you go for your synchro plays easier. It's just a staple card in my opinion, and I like it as a 3 of in the deck, hands down. Another card I run in the deck that helps go for link plays, which is a level 1, is 1 Jester Confi. Some people like running multiple of this card. I get it. There's reasons why. It depends, I'd say, completely on the route you want to take the deck. Because I've played this deck long enough, and I've seen different builds from different people over the years. This card is run, you have to understand, because you're trying to do a bunch of different links. That's why this card is run. Okay? That's why this card's in the deck. You can run multiple if you really want to focus on link climbing, but a lot of time what a lot of people do, from seeing people build this deck throughout the years, and not saying that I'm right or wrong, this just is what I've seen, is they try to focus on too much stuff with the deck. They try to focus too much on synchro, too much on fusion, or too much on synchro, fusion, and links nowadays. Sorry, I had a brain fart. And they'll try to focus so heavily on those things, and they lose consistency when they do that in the deck. That's why Just for Comfy, it's a good card. I do not like it as a 3 of. I like it as a 1 of, because I already got Tenny Spirit Ashuda now, which is just as good, and it's a tuner, which means it's versatile. So I mean, So Just a Comfy is just there as an additional extender to help link climb. You can run multiple if you want to. I would not suggest 3. I'd suggest 2 if you decide to, but that's up to you to decide. I've liked it as a 1 in the deck because I wanted to run other cards in the deck. Next we run 1 Red Eyes Black Dragon and 1 Dark Magician. If you guys are wondering why this is, well, it's not just because it's a Yu-Gi anime-esque deck. It's not because of that, because it's because of the card that's still meta. Apparently it did get limited. Red Eyes Dragoon. That's why. It's so good to run this card in this deck with the different things you can do. It's just awesome. It's icing on top. So that's why I like this card and these cards in the deck. They're very useful for multiple different applications. So staple in the deck to help go for your fusion play, make it more viable, etc. I do want to run hand traps, and while this deck is not super competitively viable, I feel like, yeah, you could probably take it to a locals, maybe have fun with regionals. I would not take it to a YCS, etc. But even still, I want to be somewhat competitive, and I wanted to find room for hand traps. A lot of people are not running hand traps, they're not running negation, etc. And I still wanted to run that in this deck. This deck is a very much going second base deck in some regards because of the setup you're trying to do. Yes, you have a lot of traps. Yes, you're trying to do that, etc. But it is very much a going second deck because of the big pushes that it can do. Granted, it can go first and is very good at going first, but it was initially, I feel like this deck was created to be a going second deck years ago. And it's depending on how you want to build the deck as to how you want to build the deck, but I like Ash Blossom in the deck. It's generic, it's going to slow my opponent down so I can start building this awesome board, and then I can start beating face with my opponent. And that be going first or second. So Ash Blossom, I like it in the deck. It's up to you if you want to run it. Some people run other combo extension cards. Some people run, like I do, staples that can help give consistency and stop other decks in their tracks. Foolish Burial Goods is a staple in this deck, hands down. I can't say more than that. It's such a great card in this deck because of the traps you run. Prolong, your Destruction Sword, and also Destruction Sword Flash, but mainly your Prolong and your Sword Mentor. Is it Mentor? Yeah, Mentor. Memories. Excuse me, Memories. For your Prolong and Memories. It's super great for this because they're good cards on their own as traps, but they're great cards in grave for their uses and applications. So I like it as a staple 3 of in the deck, for the most part. Where Art Thou is, I feel like another staple-esque card in this deck as a 3 of. Depending upon how you want to build the deck. Yes, I'm not running Jester Confi as a 3 of. Yeah, it loses maybe a little bit of consistency in that regard. But overall, I do like the card in the deck still for the different usages it can have. I've even a lot of times just take the burn damage because I'm like, whatever, just to search out certain cards that I want to. And don't think that's a negative, because sometimes the cards you're searching, the boards you're setting up will win you games, and 2,000 life points means nothing if it's going to set you up and propel you to win a game. So don't think that's a bad thing all the time. It can help you set up. But for the most part, I'm going to say you want to try to avoid that. And there's definitely a lot of ways you can do that and not have to take that burn damage still. So don't think this is a bad card just because of that, because I've had people say that to me years ago, and I was just like, no. And then they see how I use it, and they're like, oh, I gotcha. One Destruction Sword Fusion. I remember the days we used to run this at 3 of. It's an awesome card. Amazing card. But it's in a deck that has so many different things it can do. It's a 1 of. So I like it as a 1 of in the deck. I also like the 1 Red Eyes Fusion. This is for your Dragoon play like we were just talking about. You can search these things out through Verte Anaconda. It's awesome. But I like these as 1 and 1 ofs. Some people run different fusions. I know there's the Magician Fusion card that can help you go for a second Dragoon. That's up to you, but that takes setup, I feel like, in some regards. But that's up to you again. So these are just the fusion cards I run in the deck. We also run 1 Call by the Grave. I want to protect myself from hand traps. Hand traps can be the Achilles heel of this deck. 1 Upstart Goblin. Give me a little bit of consistency, man. I want some draw power. 1,000 life points really doesn't matter at the end of the day, I feel like, nowadays, because of the big pushes you can make. 1 Foolish Burial. You may be asking yourself, why Foolish Burial? Once you play around with this deck and see how it wants to set up certain combo plays, you understand why I'm running Foolish Burial. Some people don't run it, some people do. 1 Monster Reborn. It's an awesome card to have in this deck to reborn certain cards. Why not? Like, yes, it's a combo deck, but this is going to help you with extensions, etc. And is a great card in the deck. 3 Prolong. I feel like Prolong, Prologue. I keep saying Prolong, and somebody's going to go smack their head on their keyboard. But 3, how I got to pronounce it properly. Prologue. Prologue. There we go. Jeez almighty. 3 Prologue. It's a great card in the deck. I feel like it's a little bit better than Destruction, in my opinion, which is why I'm running Destruction as a 2 of. And like I said, you're going to be using Foolish Burial to send these to graveyard. Some people run Trap Trick, and that's awesome, but I don't feel the need to run that. If you're focusing more on Destruction Sword Flash, yeah, run Trap Trick. But Destruction Sword Flash is awesome. It takes setup, though. It takes setup. And it's a great card. Like, you read it and you're like, oh my gosh. But it takes setup. And it can be inconsistent at times. So, unless you're getting it off every single duel religiously, it takes setup. And it's not super consistent. I mean, I know people that strictly go for this card. They're making this deck to turbo out this card. It's been a thing for years. It's a good card. It's searchable. You can easily set it up, but don't make it the be-all, end-all card of your deck. You want versatility and consistency with any deck, I feel like, nowadays. More than ever. Don't make it a one-trick pony. Next we run 3 Infinite Impermanents. Give me some negation. This deck has protection, it has everything, but it doesn't have a lot of negation. Infinite Impermanence is going to help you give negation against effect-based decks. It's going to give you some time to set up your boards, and it can also add to your board like Ash Blossom can. Imagine you get your board set up the way you want to, and you also have Ash Blossoms and Infinite Impermanences that you can use at your disposal. Come on. That's an amazing board you can easily set up. So, that's the main deck there. We'll talk about the other cards you can run the deck here in a minute, but let's get into the extra deck very quickly. Next we run 2 Buster Destruction Sword. You can't do damage by attacking with him directly, but he can get big, man. Like, he can get big. 1 Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. This is for the fusion. You can run double depending upon your build and how you want to play around with it. 2 A Buster Dragon. This card has gone insanely up in price. Luckily, I bought these for literally $4 3 years ago, so thank you for the investment. 1 Bull Sword, Bull-Lord Savage Dragon, excuse me. 1 Bull-Lord Savage Dragon, and 1 Red Eyes Hot Abyss Dragon. This card has always been a staple in this deck since this card came out. Amazing card. It helps you build boards. 1 Link Karibo, 1 Verte Anaconda, 1 Needle Fiber. Oh, sorry about that. I didn't see you guys can see that. So 1 Link Karibo, 1 Verte Anaconda, 1 Crystal Needle Helki Fibrax, there you go. These are for your fusion and link synchro plays that you can do with the deck. 1 Destruction Sword Link, 1 IP Masquerena, 1 Nightmare Phoenix. You can run Nightmare Unicorn if you want to, but Phoenix is a little bit more useful because you can bring out big monsters and pretty much run over everything. So I find that it's more useful than Cerberus. 1 Unicorn, though, that's still useful, and 1 Access Code Talker in the deck because you can easily go for these things with Masquerena. So yeah, like you see, I have a little bit of Link, a little bit of Fusion, a little bit of Synchro, a good versatile balance that can do a bunch of different things for the deck, I find. Now, saying all that, I know this deck is extremely expensive. What other options can you run in this deck? What other things can you run to make, if you're trying to build this deck on a budget? There's different things we'll go over very quickly. DNA Surgery, do not discount how good that card can still be useful in this deck, I feel like. I would definitely say if you're doing that, you could run Trap Trick in the deck along with some DNA Surgeries to do some cool little wonky plays. It's really fun. I actually tried it out while revisiting this deck prior to the last ban list and even found that I really liked it. But that's something you can go down around because Trap Tricks are cheap, that's cheap, and if you add that up pretty much, that's 6 cards in your deck overall. Now, what about some other cards your synchro plays? Well, you're going to have to invest in your fusions, your synchros. That's a staple. Like, I'm sorry, I know they're expensive. But some of these other cards that are in the deck that are mainstays that are a little bit expensive, you can maybe play around with that on a budget. DNA Surgery, Trap Trick are good, even though I'm not running them in this build. There are other traps you can run. I definitely say maybe some Draw Power in the deck is awesome. 7 Sword Stars is something I used to run years ago. There are cool things you could run with Instant Fusion in this deck as well. There are different options you could run depending upon how you want to build your deck. So hopefully that was helpful. Like I said, the extra deck, I know some of the extra deck cards are super expensive, but if you're trying to cut the Dragoon out, that's fine. But you need the Synchro Monster, I know. Like, hopefully that gets reprinted, but alas, we'll have to wait. But till next time, guys, take care, have fun dueling, good luck dueling. Hopefully this video was helpful and informative to you. And go Buster Blader! And I'll see you guys next time. Good luck dueling to all of you. And no, Blue Eyes White Dragon is better than Buster Blader. End of story. Bye.